Yo, back to use my hat in, babe. A shiny heat. Cheers. How we doing, team? It's Dak here, PG Dak's Real Football Podcast. Thanks for tuning in to episode 2. Just want to do a big shout out to our episode sponsor today, who is Stevenson Financial, based in Glasgow, who cover all aspects of financial advice like retirement plans, investments, life assurances and mortgage advice. And as a special offer, the guys down there, Ali and Johnny, are offering free mortgage advice for anyone who contacts them and quotes PG and Dak. Top offer for top guys. The best number to get them on is 07989 411 943. So thanks a lot for sponsoring the episode at Stevenson Financial. Moving on to the episode. Top episode with two top guys. We've got Mick Kennedy, the gaffer at Darvel, alongside star player Darren Miller. It's going to be a top show. I'm sure you'll enjoy it because I know we did. Take care.
Mick, Darren, really appreciate you coming on to speak to us tonight. Thanks for coming, lads.
Wasn't Mick and Darren, man. They've got negative. Darren Miller. Aaron McKenzie. But the main man's Mick Kennedy. Who's having that voice? There's one for the double.
Right, just as we're about to start, I'll take the new for you, Mick. Right, everybody, Black Rooster. Best place you can get in the world. Get yourself down there, get yourself a wrap meal, a chicken burger, anything you want. Right, Mick, so just send that grand into the bank account after. Still think it's shite your pint is less than the boys get a week, but we'll go with the new. Right, Mick. We'll just start for your first season at Darvel. You've played your League Cup section, obviously this is kind of the Arda Cup. You've had 3 Premier League teams in it. You've ended up losing 2 of the first 3 games. How did you feel? Well, you lost 1 in penalties. I can see your face looking a bit there. You lost to Hurlford in penalties, beat Glenafton, and then lost to Talbot. How did you find it starting?
I think, to be fair, up until that point, we'd probably started the season really well. I think, I'll be honest with you, I think after that section, I think we were further away than I thought we would have been. If your people were talking about it being one of the top clubs in the country potentially at that point, even though the Championship. I felt after we played Autumn Lake, and even though we'd end up making penalties with Hurlford, I thought we were pretty fortunate second half, to be fair, to get to 1 each. So I felt after it, I thought the boys done really well. I think people forget we'd got 12 boys with amateur football in that squad, who were part of that group at that time in the season. So it was a good test for us early on. We'd played a lot of Premier League teams in pre-season friendlies and won all the games pretty comfortably. So I think we went into that section of people with a lot of optimism and probably fancied us to go through it, some people. But I felt at the end of it, I knew at that point we'd probably do more luck today than what I'd expected.
Do you think it was probably a good thing for you in hindsight to give you that wee kind of reality check?
Well, I think the challenge for us was always just to get the Championship. I think other people were talking about us could potentially win the Scottish Cup and all that. I don't think that was it. It was on our radar at that particular point, even though I felt if we got to the latter stages, then I felt the group we could have done particularly well. But reality was we were able to get the Championship after, even though I was sort of a bit of a wake-up call at that point after the section, I still felt at that point we'd have to win the league and get the Championship, which was the main priority. So, but I knew come that summer to go into that league and compete week in, week out, I knew we'd have a bit of work to do.
Aye. What did you think it? Oh, sorry.
See for me, Mick, the outside, your boys seem to, like, Darren will be able to chuck in this one, but your boys, you're saying you took the 12th amateur, obviously, you seem to get the best out of them in cup competitions and all. So for me being on the outside, I would have fancied just to have a good chance at that Scottish as well, just due to the fact that your boys know how to go about cup competitions. Gaffer seems to motivate you for him, Darren, you know?
He's good at that, to be fair, aye. Yeah, the team talks before the big games are really good. They should get involved in things. Aye. He can definitely get the best out of player, aye.
The Gaffer's looking for a third choice goalie, then he always knows where to come, but I think Maxie might want a few quid for me, to be honest, mate.
I would take Maxie in third choice anywhere, mate. He's a hero.
See, to be fair, when Dak says a few quid, he literally means 3 quid. Dan, what was your views? Obviously, you've played high on that, but you'd been at Colville and then coming in with Mick at Darvel. What was your views after the League Cup section? We're playing, like, obviously the Talbot's kind of the benchmark.
I was suspended against Hurlford, right enough, so that was shite. The Talbot, I played against the Talbot before, and they're the best, aren't they? You can't, there's no denying it. They're the best junior team about. They won everything. That's, I think, where every junior team wants to be. But up until that point, I had never been beat a fucking lick when I had played them, and I think I'd scored every time I played against them, so that was quite shite.
So you think it was poor management for Mick that cost that?
That's
fair enough.
He was motivated enough, aye. It was good. It was good. But as Mick said, we had a lot of boys. No, listen, I'll probably take that back because that team won the amateur players. We had a really good team at Colville. We took good players to Darvel. We were good. We were just gelling together. People would forget that. That was our first real competitive games. So we didn't get back. We got beat 1-0 off at Talbot. We drew one. We got beat one in penalties or whatever it was. Wasn't bad. But we just had all this shite about all the money. I'm on 40 grand a week. I've never seen that.
See, to be fair, I think you're going to, on the outside, because obviously I've not known any user like that. On the outside, you're looking in and all you hear is all the money talk and everything. And like I said, Mike, I've listened to a couple of things that you've spoken, and it has kind of been done to death. See, for this level, I don't think it's really an issue because somebody has to get paid the most at this level. You can't have everybody getting paid the same. You know what I mean? Like, I know that the Talbot and when I was at Cumnock, boys were getting good wages, and that was like a decade ago. You know what I mean? So I don't really think that people can make such a big deal about it.
If we did, like there's no denying John and everybody else has got money around about the club, right? So that's like saying Man City shouldn't pay their players what they pay them because Watford can't afford that.
Exactly.
Damn, mate, I think you're spot on, and I'll echo this. I've been kind of, when I've spoke to people personally, I've kind of felt as if I've kind of defended you with pure knowing in-house what's happening, because it's not anybody's business, in my opinion, mate, what boys are getting. Boys go play football, and I think if boys are getting a wee bit more money, more pressure comes with that because expectations different. Mick's got to handle different characters, maybe bigger characters for senior football and that. So with that, if there's a bit more in the budget, it brings more pressure. So for me, mate, I was always one of them. It's good for the level to get good players coming in and use guys and all. So for me, mate, the argument about that, I don't think people should bother because you don't run about every day asking people what their own everyday wage. You know what I mean? But there's workouts football. So I've always kind of defended anybody that says that, because at the end of the day, you're representing the grade, representing the boys, and I think it's if whatever you get is your own business, not meaning that's between you and your own club. That's just my feelings on it.
See, on that, Mick, kind of when you've taken Eric Darvel, I've heard you speak before about a 3-year plan, and obviously looking for the club to be kind of self-sustainable. See if the certain backers were to come out, is the club able to run itself? Because obviously it's not got a massive fan base or anything like that.
Well, I think just on wages, because Darren's here, and I don't think that Darren will mind me saying this. So my opinion, Darren's one of the top players at our level, even when we were in the Championship last year. I don't think anybody would deny that. I'm happy to tell what Darren's wages were last year. His wages were 70 quid. Sure, Darren won't mind him making me share that with him. That's what Darren was paid. That's what the average player in the squad was paid last year, between 70 and 90 quid. People
and you get Mega has bought a 6-bedroom house.
So there was this furore about wages. It didn't come from internally, it came externally with people because we'd attracted a couple of boys for senior football. But even the boys we'd attracted for junior, Al McKenzie, Eddie Ferns, and that, they didn't come for the top clubs at that level either. Do you know what I mean? So the squad wasn't built with the best players in junior football at that particular point. We attracted some real quality for senior football. But other than that, there was a lot of made out of it. It wasn't really true. But I think in terms of if the investor pulled out, and there's primarily one main investor, which is obviously the chairman. The wage budget at Darvel in year 1, year 2, year 3 is funded solely by the club. John doesn't pay any wages, doesn't contribute to wages. It's solely funded by the club in sponsorship. The club's fan bases went to about 60 to about 350. So in the first year, so that brings in significant income. Then there's other sponsors who are behind the scenes that put a wee bit of money in, people who have lived in Darvel and moved abroad and have got businesses and stuff like that. So clubs got a lot of there's a lot of work that goes on behind the scenes to generate income streams that suit with John's income. Where John's been really beneficial to the club is the infrastructure within the club. has improved significantly for the day I took here, well, even to the February when I agreed to come in, we started planning. That's where the benefit to John is, the club having John in the background. That's why the infrastructure within the club's changed considerably in such a short space of time. Because John, that's part of building a business plan and a business model that allows you to be sustainable. So that's where John invests his money into. He doesn't pay anything towards any of the wages. Not at this particular point anyway, and it's not envisaged they will this year or next year.
Is it true that you have an American investor?
Aye, so there is a guy or a family who lived in Darvel, set up a pharmaceutical company, moved to America many years ago and sold it to one of the biggest pharmaceutical companies in the world for, I think it was about £280 million.
Did you just not think about maybe seeing if you could go out and do a bit of warm weather training and you and Darren could be sitting by the pool and getting a couple of beers?
Yeah, Mick was going to take them to Dubai, you know what I mean? Yeah, see the thing for me is, Mick, see obviously you were saying, and obviously you've been honest there about what Darren was on. Surely he must have in his deal a goal bonus for scoring outside 30 yards, because the boys get nothing but sauce, man, fairing about that. You know?
That's the only area he scores for that, to be fair.
I tell you, honestly.
No, but that's part of bringing players who are buying into a project and they're happy to be there in year one, and they're buying it and we're trying to do a sustained period of time. Darren's one of the boys. Dan could earn more money at this level and probably a couple of levels above, but he buys it at the project. Me and Darren have got a really good relationship as well. What helps is the same with other boys. But as I say, everything we do, John's a very successful businessman. I'm semi-successful myself. We know how to build brands. We know how to put infrastructure in place. We know how to generate income. And even other directors on the board as well, we've got a bit of business acumen about us, so we understood and understand how to build businesses, and that's what we've done. John had done that before I came in. John's already been there for 4 years before I came in. So there was a plan put in place originally, Paul, which was a three-year plan, and that was all mapped out.
See, you mentioned about the increase in supporters. How did you go about increasing? Because obviously, like 50, 60 fans to 350 is a massive jump within one season. Do you think it was partly because you had the new players coming in and there was a bit of excitement, or were you going to expect that to be sustainable for them to keep coming in their numbers? Yeah,
I'm taking notes on this one, because I said last week that your 10 fans that I feel were the best fans in junior football. Max, he's went off his nut and says it's 11, so I've left one of them out. So I'm going to take a note how you get the crowds up, mate.
When we sat down, and if you really want to build something that's sustainable, that's not reliant on anybody, or even John putting infrastructure cost in, we had to get people through the gate. So, and that's about then looking at the brand at the club and saying, right, how do you build that? How do you build momentum behind it? How do you build excitement behind it? And how do you get it in the public domain where people talk about it? The first thing we done was we built the changing rooms. That was intentional, because I wanted to create that environment for the players, because the environment for players is important to me, but also we were always aware that if we'd done that, we'd get good publicity in the back here. Then we knew bringing in the quality of players, maybe Darvel, the boys for senior, more so, we knew build momentum, it gets a bit of publicity behind the club, then all of a sudden people start taking interest and they think something's happening, so you capture them initially. Then it's down to what you're doing on the park, it determines well it's there, and because the season was successful, then it gradually grew and eventually we started hitting those figures, which is remarkable. But it was all that's planned out. It was, we talk about this all the time. Even though Darvel, you're in a football environment, it's still a business. You've got customers, you've got competitors, so you've got to create something which for us is a brand, and that's what Darvel is now. So there's ways of sort of managing that. There's ways of increasing demand, increasing people's opinions on it, increasing people wanting to come and be part of it. And we always felt if we really wanted to make it sustainable, the fans had to feel as if they were driving it, that they feel it was theirs. And that was the message we put for day one, and then we've gradually built that up.
Mike, I've seen a few pictures and things on social media. I think that it's testament. I think you've got a group of boys there, and it looks as if just me being on the outside, Dan will probably be able to get in this one. Like, I've seen pictures like with the players or with the fans and all that, so I kind of get the feeling that they're having a tight bond with the fans, and it's actually they're feeling maybe appreciating things like that, like the boys getting in and having a pint or that maybe with the fans after the game and stuff like that. So is that the case down there?
Like every previous club I've played at, it's not that I didn't take notice, right? But there's hundreds of committee members, there's hundreds of things. It's hard to keep on top of them. see for the day that Mick took him, you don't do that. Everybody's been the exact same way. All the boys could tell you all the committee members' names. They sit down with us after the game, the fans get involved, they all travel up their numbers. They were in the change room one time, we won the Scottish Mind, Mick. It's brilliant. It's good. It's really, really good. And that's just a thing that, see, Colville, if he was still the gaff at Colville, we would all still be there, no doubt about it. It doesn't matter if we could all go and play high level. It's just because you work all week to go and play football. For me, with your pals on a Saturday, enjoy it, win things. But the main thing is enjoy it. I know it sounds daft for fucking all nearly 30, but see, if you don't enjoy it, there's a fucking point in going. And it doesn't matter if you play in the Championship or the SPL. I've shared change rooms with boys that are wanks. I'd rather just go away and play with my mates, you know what I mean? So it's good that everybody's buying into the one thing. And obviously on the back of that, we're successful because he's got a good team. So everything just bonds in together. That's good.
Back onto the first season, you've obviously had the tough kind of section start, and then you've beaten Renfrew in your first game, 4-3. Obviously quite tight, but Renfrew were a bit on the ascendancy at the time as well. See, once you get a couple of games in, you'd beaten Blantyre in the second game as well. Did it kind of, once you started to gauge what the level was like, how did you feel after that?
When the season started, we'd lost two of our main centre half, so we were a wee bit decimated. And I think if you look at the early games at the start of the season, they were all high scoring. We were conceding goals left, right, and centre. We were just lucky with real quality at the tap end of the park, or middle to front, and that was just down to simply because with centre mids playing centre half, with right backs playing centre half. We're really disjointed. We're just going to get a settled squad. And it took us probably to run about, I don't know, end of November to really get a settled group and get a settled team. Some of the players back fit. Then after then, we started to pick up results. We started to play a wee bit more like ourselves. I think in the early games in the league, all the games were extremely tight. We weren't really particularly comfortable many games because we weren't strong defensively. But after that, then it settled down, and I felt then you started to see the quality we've got. Then I felt I was always confident that we'd go on a run, and that's what happened.
I think you see for your first 4 games, you've lost 10 goals for the season, but like you said, it's obviously one they're particularly happy with how it was defensively. Later in the season, you played Beath in the West and they beat you 3-2. Was that another kind of, because after you had a kind of sticky start with losing goals, you had a good run and then you've lost to Beath. Was that again kind of maybe something just to say we're not quite at a level that we want to be at yet?
I get sent off about 20 minutes in.
Paul,
there you go, Darren. It's you again, mate.
What's he doing at the club still?
I think we were 2-0 down at that point, to be fair, as well. I think the time Darren gets sent off.
So you've won 1-0 without Darren
then? Get out of me.
When you're playing the teams at that league, the margins are always tight. I think I say this to the boys all the time. I think if your attitude and your application and your desire isn't right in that league, then I think you get found wanting. I think if you match that and you're hungry, and I think we played Beef in a pre-season friendly and beat them comfortably 3-0. And I think they came down that day with a point to prove. And I just felt the first 10-15 minutes they were really at it. I felt they were coming down to prove a point, and I think they've done that. As the game settled on, I thought we'd get a grip of it, and really in the end up we were probably unfortunate not to end up for each late on in the game, but you wouldn't deny that Beef deserved to win the tie. But no, I always felt, Paul, even into that game, I always knew that Dan will tell you, I'm a planner, so I'm already, once we play Auchinleck and we go through that cup section, I'm already thinking about next summer. I'm away ahead of myself already, so I know all the things, the work that needs to be done. So even when we played Beef, I still knew we had to break up that squad come the summer, probably more so what I thought I had to at the outset. But it was a bit of an eye-opener, but it was just reaffirmed what I already knew, that to go to that top league and compete week in, week out, we had to make improvements.
You were saying there that you were going to have to go and break the team up. See, for me, how hard, and that's probably testament to how good a manager you must be, because you're having to break up boys that basically gave you so much success in the amateur game and up to the time you were there. So how hard is that as a manager to obviously maybe move on some players that have been with you for probably 5 years or something, 4 or 5 years, and try and move on?
I've got a really good relationship with players, so it's probably, I invest a lot of time in them. It's probably one of the most important things for me at managing clubs. So during that time you're a part of a group and you're on a journey together and you're trying to build something, then you've got really close relationships with them, and that also impacts on you end up like touching their personal life at times, depending on the environment they're in, the circumstances. So you end up really close to them, sometimes in football and out of football. The reality is though, when it really comes to the crunch and I need to make tough decisions, then all that really goes out the window, to be fair. It's just the way it needs to be, because ultimately I think as long as you're honest with people, Dak, innit? As long as you're speaking to a player, they come and speak to you, you're speaking to them, as long as the conversation's always led and you're being honest with them, then I think people understand that. I tell players all the time, Dan will tell you every start of the season, it's a journey for this season. Nobody's guaranteed to be here the following year. A lot of that's depending on you and other circumstances. So, but it isn't easy, to be fair. But the good thing is, anybody who's moved on, I still speak to, I still got a good relationship with. I'm happy to say that anybody who's ever left the club, maybe at that time they felt I've let them down, or maybe no made the right decision, and maybe there's a wee bit of strained relationship for a couple of weeks. But when things settle back down at a bit of normality, then I've always had strong relationships with people after that. So.
See, when you've lost the games to like the Talbot and Bede and that, obviously there's a lot of people that are possibly jealous of the situation, think that you have all this money and are quite happy for you to lose. Does that make you feel like you've got a point to prove? Because coming from amateur where Colville, to be honest, just completely dominated, see within you, it's got to be maybe bother you on how it feels with the fact that you feel like you've got a point to prove.
I never felt with it to prove. For me, it was about getting into that level of football and trying to imprint my philosophy, how I play football, the environment I create, the culture I create, how I make sure that I stick to their beliefs and I don't get drawn away from that. Because I think people were running about me were saying, listen, you need to go more direct. You're playing too much football, you're building to the back too much, parts are not good enough. And you've got all these people trying to give you advice and opinions. And I think it's just important that you stick to your beliefs and stick to how I believe I should run a club, how I should run a changing room. Then ultimately, if that brings success, then it does. But I don't think I'm getting to prove. I think other people probably think that, because I think there's this perception that this guy coming for amateur football, he's come in here, he's got a pot of gold, and he thinks it's going to be easy, or they think it's going to be easy. I don't think that's the case. I think we work hard as a club, as our coaching staff, management team, players. We probably work hard as anybody does in the country to make sure we bring the club and the fans success. But I don't feel like I've got anything to prove to anybody, because the reality is, out with the club, I really don't give a fuck what anybody thinks about us anyway. So ultimately, that's it.
See, Colville, we were hated the most because we were the best. That's the truth.
I managed at Bridgewater Amateurs. I fucking hated you, as I know.
So, but the thing is, we were arrogant about it. Not that we were arrogant, but if we were getting beat 3-0, I think every player would think we're going to win 4-3. We were good. So we all had this thing. It's different with Darvel. We're by no means the best team. For fuck's sake, we've not won it. We've won a league, get a championship. That's it. But people have got this perception of money and you're not allowed to do this and sort of shite. So it's completely different, I think. But the hate is still there.
That's fair enough. See, on the league, obviously it had to be kind of decided in the way it was. Whatever your beliefs are on it, it's kind of shite, whether it be with Celtic winning the League or Auckland winning it, coming for third. You said a bit of a rivalry.
Yeah, Johnston Borough, mate, they were fifth in the league and they won it.
Aye, but Johnston Borough had won about 10 games.
They were still playing us again.
They had you had a bit of a rivalry with Blantyre. As I said, you'd beaten them earlier in the season, where you beat them twice. How did that feel? Kind of, maybe it's just me for outside seeing it, but it did seem like there was a wee bit of rivalry, because that was a team that were a genuine challenge for you. Did you feel that at all, that it was like maybe a wee bit more of an edge in the game when you played them later on in the season?
Probably not the first game of the season, to be fair. It was more so probably the Scottish Cup tie, the way we were 3-0 up very early on. Big Alan gets sent half and they come back into it. And in reflection, we're probably unfortunate to get a draw in the end. I think they ended up 4-3 finished, I think. 4-3 maybe. And they were unfortunate not to get a draw, if I'm being honest with you. And I think a wee bit of rivalry came from there. Then obviously they went on a really good run and we were on a really good run. I still generally do believe, and with the amount of games still to play Blantyre at home, I was still confident we were going to win the league, as I'm sure John was there as well with his group of players and his management team. But it was probably the main bit of rivalry in the league, because us two started to actually pull away. It looked like it was going to be a 2-horse race at one point. But nothing, I wouldn't say a rivalry in any sort of bad way. It was more competitive than having any sort of real needle to it, to be fair. But again, I think John's done a fantastic job at Blantyre. Do you know what I mean? Probably working for a different budget for us. Maybe not get the financial support in the background to infrastructure, but what he's done with that club last year was fantastic as well, and they fully deserved a place in the Premier League as well. And I think they've been a credit to themselves in the league as well.
Yeah, do you know what I played? Do you know what I signed for Blantyre once with Davy Gregg? I played one game I get sent off after 20 minutes against Villa, leaving for a last man tackle, and that was my career done with Blantyre, mate, out the door. Not the road, stupid. Not the road, stupid. Not me.
How did it feel having to share a league title with them? That must have, see, to be fair, if I can be honest, it must have been worse for them, because technically if they'd won their games in hand, they'd have been ahead of you. So it must have been a bit of a kind of thorn in their craw, you know what I mean? But how did it feel for you having to share?
Your auntie had thought she'd be your uncle, wouldn't she?
Aye. She wouldn't be. That wouldn't genetically make sense. But how did it feel for you about having to share a league title?
I think when they'd done the calculation, it was like half a point or something like that to go on it by. See, to be honest with you, Paul, I didn't really care about it. I wouldn't have cared if we get if we'd have won it by the points and been clear winners. It wasn't really an interest to me. My main aim was getting us into the Premier League. I think if I'm at Darvel for the next 5 years and we'd won a championship, I don't think it would be deemed as being a successful 5 year at the club if we won a championship. It was never something I would have been overly excited about if the season would have been played. It would have won it. Would have celebrated definitely for the boys and that. But our ambitions and aspirations are about getting into the Premier League and trying to be one of the top teams in the country. I think Blantyre probably felt a bit more aggrieved than us, but I wouldn't have cared if they would have been declared outright winners. For me, it was just about getting in the Premier League ultimately.
How did it feel? See, obviously, after he's lost to Blantyre, after he's lost to Beith, you lost to Renfrew, and then you went in a quite impressive run, winning 9 and drawing 2, and you had brought in the quarters of the Scottish and you drew them down at your place. How did that feel? That must have been, I'll go with you with this, Darren, as a player. That must have been kind of a bit of a pain in the arse. The fact that you knew you had a good chance at possibly getting to a semis in a final of the Scottish, and then obviously COVID's came in, there's nothing anybody can do about it. But how did it feel having a season cut short like that?
After a while, everybody talks about the Scottish Cup and that, but after a while we started to think, fuck, we're in here, we've got a good chance. Then especially the game against Broughty, we had the game won. We scored the last kick of the ball, literally. Boys stuck one right in the top corner. It's a bit of a kick of teeth, but again, that was the week the league got cut short, wasn't it? I think that week we're confident of going up there and beating them. Like you say, there's nothing anybody can do about that. I don't know, but there was a chance of the Scottish Cup in touching distance, wasn't it? Don't get us wrong, we still had to go up there and beat them in a semi-final, but everybody was thinking about it.
You can't see, obviously we use having won the Scottish at amateur level and that. You see players on the telly talking about like, oh, it's just the next game, but you know it's like you're in a dressing room. You can't help but look at the final when you know you're that close to it. But it's one of the ones, I suppose, with COVID, it's just kind of fucked it, and I suppose a game of football isn't really the most important thing. For Darren, how was it for you in terms of, particularly as you started, you had a pretty successful season in your first go with it. How was the team in terms of like togetherness and all that?
Amazing. Honestly, it was so good. The only thing different for this year is we've never shared the changing room. I know it sounds daft, but you know the changing room is a big part of football, man. The changing room we had last year was unbelievable, and it's the same at Colville. Just get everybody's in it together. There's no just like a starting 11. There's no just 15 players. There's 24 bodies in the girls, coaching staff. Everybody's in, or just for one. I honestly think that's how we were so successful at Colville. There was other good teams there, but we had a bond like nobody else. And I think last year the biggest challenge would have been ourselves, because I think if we knew we were all at it together and like the way we were, we could have beat anybody in that league comfortably.
See, on what you're saying, Darren, mate, I always get that, mate. Like, see that kind of, like, I know this isn't like putting it down, but a kind of scheme team mentality. I've played in a couple myself where everybody's pals and when somebody's known the team, they're not going to rat like the pram, they're thinking about the bigger picture and all that. And I do get that. We were talking about this a couple of weeks ago with somebody, and it's like, it's end up teams with boys that you when you were growing up, when you were younger, you didn't like or didn't go on with, and then you end up in this dressing room, man, and you all end up a cracking bunch of pals. You end up gang fighting and all that, fighting against them, then you end up in a team with them. But for me, mate, I definitely get that vibe off you, know, and I've been in that myself, and I think it's the best thing, and it's the best way to achieve success. But it's even if you're that dressing room mentality and everybody's muckers and chipping in together and in it together, mate, it's no better feeling it, no.
I remember going to Albion Rovers, right? Up on the way home for Elgin with the like, initiation songs. Two boys started singing Nickelback. That was for me, it was already one warning sign, right? What the fuck's happening here? Then we went to the change room, and on the Monday, there was two change rooms on the Monday night. We used to talk about American football and all that. What the fuck you talk about? Get me out, man.
It's always senior dressing rooms that I can't say I've played a lot of senior football, but I was a wee moose when I was younger in at Thistle. But then see the other ones, all the dressing rooms were brilliant because I was at the centre of it, mate, half the time.
Well, who's the one of Darvel boys? Who's good for a laugh and because you've always got a token idiot in the team, I know. Mick, you can jump in with us, I know. Who is the simpleton in the team?
Xander's the funniest, 100%.
I hear good stories about Xander, mate. I heard he's some laugh. I don't know him personally, but I heard he's top draw.
He's amazing, man.
He's a special guy, Xander. He's
amazing.
I don't mean a funny or a humorous way. I mean he's genuinely a special guy. He's a very good goalkeeping coach as well. He's exceptional, but he's a very, very, very good guy. He's one of the nicest guys you ever meet. But I think part of what we try and do at the club or any club that I'm at is that it's important that when you're bringing people into it, that they're fundamentally good people before they're football players. And I think that's what we always try and do. We invest a lot of time in finding out about people's backgrounds and names, personalities and individuals. We're very cautious how we bring into the environment because, as Darren says, I know you hear people talk about this and they say, oh, families and all that, but I mean, it generally has to be that. I wouldn't have an environment that isn't that. So it's important that everybody's in it together. It's hard and all because players are naturally selfish. Fundamentally, you want to play every week. But Dan will tell the boys all the time, the least important person in the changing room is actually you yourself. So if you come into the changing room and go, listen, I'm the least important person, then if you come in under that umbrella, under that opinion, then the reality is then we can all move forward together. But if you want to all be about you and you're the most important person, then the reality is you're in the rank changing room and people who come in with that attitude come and go very, very quickly, irrespective of their qualities as football players.
What's the boys slinging about? What's the pranks? What's the daftness they're up to in there?
Mate, they're just banter everywhere. Somebody talks and Andy the goalie, man. Poor Andy talks and everything like that. Big Xander, shut your fucking mouth. Didn't just say anything, know what I mean? Good, but the boys are brilliant. Everybody cops it, that's the thing. Everybody cops it.
But there's no daft wee pranks kicking about or anything, man.
No, but I'm going to tell you a belter.
I would like that.
Right, we all played at Colville, right? After every Wednesday, we used to go to the shop and it was like an Indians and a Chinese going up together, right? We're in, it's fucking freezing, right? It's about -4. So there's 4 motors put up, mixed motor, Huck, Boyack, Kenny. So there's Kenny, wee Chrissy, Craig, Tam Murray. There's about 3 families in this shop, right? So it's rammed. And Mick's like, I'll get it. Don't worry about his vans. We're like shouting chips and curry, fucking pizza or something, blah, blah, blah. So he's sitting with his hands up on the desk, reading the menu. The Chrissy comes back, he's got a video this, so I'm going to video it. So this wee lass, we were down all that, man, and everybody saw that. I was going, wee Chrissy walks up, scants Mick right on his ankles. He's not got boxers on. Fuck all. So he gets on there and he feels it and goes like that. And you can see the woman just looking. He's got, you bastard. But it's brilliant, man, honestly. Some buds. So good.
Yeah, CV Tommy Murray played with you at Colville. But does he stay in a house bigger than yours, mate? Because I texted him about coming to Ashfield, right? And he goes, mate, I'm doing a wee job in my house. Mate, that was fucking 3 months ago, mate. How big's his fucking house?
I'm still in an oven, mate. He's still in an oven.
Oh my days. Brilliant, mate. I love that stuff, scanting the gaffer, man. Unbelievable.
It's funny that the only person you mentioned in that story that isn't actually at Darvel is Chrissy Craig.
I know. No, Tam Murray.
You can hang with a couple of them. See one hang on that. That reminds me of one with me. I'm going to throw a quick one in. See when I was at Rock, me, Davy Gregg was the manager. Darren and Mick, you don't know Davy, I probably would imagine. You'd have Davy Gregg. Just cause the day was scanting, but we were all getting a drink. It was the last day of the season. I think it was Yoker were still to play games in Holland, and the gaffer thought we would fucking get promoted. So we're all bevying in the Rock, and then we were out in the park. Wee Davy stripped into a pair of pants, mate. You want to see these wee briefs he had on, right? The worst pants you'd ever see. He started stripping into his pants. Dean Klingsman's on the park, thought we were promoted. 2 games later, we missed out in a point, man. Fucking terrible. Oh, what was brilliant.
Mick got another one last year, didn't he, Mick? I think we were in the change room. I've always got sweeties every session in my pocket. Like even when we're playing things, I've always munched this way. And he said something funny, and I went, "I didn't say anything about his footy." He's like, "I ain't about to talk." It's fucking garlic sweeties with Tam's Records.
Mate, I seen that on Twitter, mate. You put that video up.
Aye, brilliant, man. He was
Aye,
raging.
It seems like your team respects you, Mick. I'll give him that.
I know it does.
There's a fine line in there. There's a good line.
Well, we'll go back onto the football. See, obviously you've got like your GPS stuff and all that, and you've got your sports science and your strength and conditioning stuff. I'm quite into all that stuff because I don't know if you've ever seen the thing that was out a couple of years ago, the Team Sky with Dave Brailsford, and they did like the 1% incremental gains. See, I think all that stuff's quite impressive. What was your view on bringing that in? Because obviously it's nobody really does that at that level.
The sports science coach at Colville, to be fair, and we trained with GPS at times because we had a link with university at that point. Then obviously we moved to Darvel and we brought them in permanently. I think for me, when it's important, this probably Dan will tell you, we probably train about 95% of the time we are ball. Everything we probably do is we are ball, to be fair, because that's my belief in how we should train. Because you want the boys to enjoy the environment, and then it reflects what you're trying to do on a Saturday. And so it's difficult to judge intensity and how hard people are working when you're doing loads of exercises with a ball. So if you're running somebody from cone to cone for 30 minutes, it's not hard to work out everybody's working hard. But when you go into a possession drum or a passing drum, you add the ball into it, it's very difficult to understand what intensity people are working. So where the GPS vest is really good is that maybe on a Tuesday and a Thursday, we'll sit down and analyse what training's been the night before, we'll look at everybody's individual output and data. And you can see at that point what level of intensity you're getting to. We've got a preset level of intensity we have on a Monday and we have on a Wednesday that's then linked into what we do on a Saturday. So it's all pre-planned out. So it's important. Sometimes it's what we're doing doesn't work. We need to tweak it to get more intensity in it. Sometimes it's individuals who maybe not been at it or whatever it is, and you need to speak to them individually. But it's important for me just because of how we work. Because as I say, you've only got the boys for 4 hours a week training. It's important you get some energy into legs and you get high output as well. But it's trying to do it in a way where it's physically and mentally challenging, and you're not just running people at the ground for now. So that the GPS stuff like that is really important to me for that stuff. Then the sports science coaches and strength conditioning coaches are important as well, because that's their professionalism, their expertise, and it's just about building the best environment they can for the players to allow them to be the best version of themselves they can be, to be honest with you.
So you were wearing the GPS vests and all that, and you can see the output that players are putting in. Was there a noticeable difference from when you first started it to maybe later on? Because, I mean, you know what it's like, we all played, you know that most of the time you're throwing it in at training, you'll cut runs short, or you'll not quite put a full effort in, but you can hide it most of the time. See, when you've got the GPS, does it show up that when players aren't putting in kind of the effort that you're hoping for them?
I think, don't get me wrong, if we stood and watched a training session, and if we say to the coaching staff, who jinx not been at it the night, you could probably pick it up without seeing the data the next day. Do you know what I mean? It's still obvious to the eye, I think. But it's for me, it's not really about the individual. It's more about the collective output, about the session brings. So for us, every individual training drum we do has got a level of intensity matched against it. We analyse that the next day. Then we then know that gives you what you're working at 86%. Then we know we can, if we go to that drill next time, everything's planned out properly. So we know we're trying to get to around about 75% match day intensity in training session on Monday and a Wednesday. So it's all that stuff behind it, which is the science part that Matty does and breaks it down. Then it's important then that we put drills in place that get to that level of intensity. So it's more that, Paul. But no, I think Darren will tell you, if we, because we spend a lot of time with a ball, if we're not at it for 5 minutes, then the reality is the next 15 minutes I'll just work with football. Mm-hmm. So there's two options. You either enjoy it and you work hard and you apply yourself properly, or we'll work on it differently. And that doesn't happen very often, but there's been an odd occasion, Darren will tell you, at lock-ins where I've went a bit nuts. But in general terms, the boys work hard. Listen, I think if you create a good environment and the boys enjoy being there, and they know they're going to turn up, they know they're going to enjoy it, they know they need to work hard and apply themselves, and I think it's half the battle. There's nothing worse when you're driving into training. I've done it myself. You think, fucking, it's Monday night, you're running for an hour night. I mean, it's mentally
it's difficult.
demoralising.
How do you find it, Dan? With all the kind of like the vest and the sports science stuff and that for players
Yeah, it's
aspect?
got to be Dan running with his sweeties in his pocket, man, 'cause I seen him taking a wee munchie of sweet.
Mate, that's because my attention span's terrible. I had to try and munch something.
He's got it's the garlic sweeties in there again.
They're good, mate. They've got their ups and downs, like you say, but I think about the team, there's a couple of ways that maybe sometimes, like, well, me so last year, to be fair, me and Kenny would always be like, looking at each other as if, want to fuck. But then, like you say, you can't hide, and they're no slowing, pulling you up. But it's good to know, because even though we're in lockdown, like we had the GPS best same as the last lockdown, we were out doing 5Ks, not then he could tell us what we had to do more, he could tell us. So it was good for that. There wasn't any hiding place. And I think that shows when we went back, we were fitter, we were stronger. It was good. It was good in that way. And like you say, you want to be the best, ain't you? So if it takes wearing a GPS vest to train harder or be stronger or whatever, the fuck it is sharper, then that's what's going to happen.
We'll see on you're saying you did it. Sorry, mate, on you go.
I think you can also sometimes read too much into it as well, Paul. Do you know what I mean? I think we've probably been guilty of that at times as well. You can overanalyse things to death and you can read into the data too much. It's hard to know. Maybe Darren's had a bad day at work, or maybe not a good night's sleep the night before, and he's turned up and you're lethargic and you're no at it. Do you know what I mean? Listen, the boys have got jobs and personal lives and all that, so it's hard as well. So you need to sometimes take all the things into consideration. Sometimes it isn't just black and white. And I think there's been times where we've probably looked at it like that and we've probably read into it far too much at times.
You're not batting them onto goalies, Mick, are you? You're not wasting them on goalies, are you?
No, the goalies get them as well.
The
goalies are lazy bastards. Chris,
see when I said third choice goalie, Mick, just rap back me. I'm not running about a GPS on, man.
Chris doesn't need to wear anything, Mick. Didn't know he's golden boy.
Oh, is he?
He's the best, but
never hear goalies are never the gaffer's golden boy, no.
No, he is, mate.
He certainly is.
Even after he conceded 10 goals in the first 4 games last season.
Wasn't it his fault, not one?
That wasn't his fault. That was on the records behind him.
Oh, well, that's amazing, Mick, mate, because any manager I played under, mate, they hated fucking goalies, mate. Absolutely hated them.
Dan, see on, like, obviously you're talking about the COVID and that, and you get the vest same with you. I spoke to Jamie earlier. How he said he's kind of like they tailored individual plans for you, isn't that? How did you find having to work through the individual plans?
Mate, I can go a run, no worries. Like, some other things I would struggle with, see like doing burpees and all that. I'm the skinniest guy in the world, man. I know it's not about getting all big and strong and all that, but that shit doesn't do anything for me. So I would rather just put them on and run. I'll go and fucking play football myself or something, but I struggle with stuff like that. But recently I've been going to like a PT, and it's been good. It's been enjoyable. I feel like when you go to the gym and stuff, it feels as if every kid looks at you, man, because you're not there all the time, and I just hate it, mate. I get a complex. So I don't mind going a run. I'm never no fit, but it's good. It is good that they work out who needs what and the body fats and all that. That was good last year, because even though we were in lockdown, you were still like, you know, you've got to get a body fat took you back, so you didn't want to be I don't want to be fucking well over here, do you know what I mean? So it has its bonuses and all.
See, I think it's quite an interesting thing for me, because I'm quite sad with all that stuff. Like, I like stats and for games, it's sad as fuck, but it's what I like. But see, like that, you're saying you like to run in that. Mick, did you have them doing any 5K time trials or anything?
No, because I'll be honest with you, Paul, I'm not really a big fan of people doing 5 and 10Ks all the time. That was part of the issue we had in lockdown originally. So, because the reality is you're conditioning your body to do something that you're not, that's not your main output anyway. So, we just need to be cautious that the boys are not, that's their only training output that we're doing. So, I'm not the biggest fan of them running that sort of way. Darren enjoys that because Darren's very athletic in terms of running long distances. The problem Darren's got is he's got an attention span of a 2-year-old as well. So when you look at me now, he's looking at there. Do you know what I mean? That. So when you're asking Darren to tune in and maybe individual things, so that's the. I'm not really into 5 and 10Ks, to be honest with you. Maybe one a week or something like that. Built in with other training. But the boys have got training plans, they know, but it's all dynamic stuff. It's all linked to certain movements and working certain muscles and all that sort of stuff. So I prefer working like that. than running the sort of distances.
I suppose it's more game specific. I mean, I like to run and stuff. That's something I quite enjoy. So I'm a bit like Darren. I would go out and hammer runs, no bother. That's fine for me. But in the long term, it doesn't really do you any kind of extra benefits because you're never really running more than 80 or 90 yards at a time in a football game anyway. Moving away from kind of some of that stuff. See, with the SFA licensing and that. So obviously you could, if football comes back this season, like I wasn't aware of this until we spoke to Moff and Gaz a couple of weeks ago. If you can win the league this year, if you've got your SFA licensing in place and you've got a chance of promotion into the Lowland League, what kind of stuff are you doing in the background to get the SFA licensing sorted?
Well, we're done, Paul. Bar floodlights. So the floodlights are due to go in. Everything else is done. To be fair, it's all been done for months. We've been way ahead. It was just our only issue has been floodlights. There's just been a delay with the columns simply because of COVID. The manufacturer. It's probably made the timescales a bit tighter than what we thought it would have been. But other than that, everything else, all the ground improvements, all that were all done in the summer.
What kind of stuff was it you had to do to get it up to kind of the level that you needed?
So we had to make the way changing room double in size, build an extension on the side there.
So now it's about 8 foot wide instead of the 4 it was before.
It's unrecognisable, honestly.
I've only ever been down at Darvel once and in the away changing room, and I swear to God, man, there was a fucking big puddle at the back of I'd rather get changed in.
Mate, it's not meant to be comfortable, Paul, is it?
I know, mate.
Made it weird.
It's not meant to be like fucking Tirana after a couple of bombs have been dropped.
Fair
They've thrown Tirana in when I'm in the house here. There's a place I've never been to, Darvel, in my football.
I thought you were going to say I've never been to Tirana.
I'm fucking been there plenty of times visiting family and that. No, but it's never a place I've been to. So hopefully, because of this conversation and that, we Mick and Dan will maybe get invited down. And
I think so. Aye.
Even when George Bibby's playing in the changing rooms, I can come down, Mick, for a wee party with Dan.
Of course, anytime, man.
I'm sure we'll be invited down to Lock-in Channel for a wee bit of PG and Dak behind the scenes.
Aye, mate, definitely.
The goalie and the boy with one leg absolutely showing up, Dan.
Just don't take any sweeties off Dan.
No, I need to kick in. I have to keep my sugar levels high, not hyper.
See, Owen, kind of with the season being stopped and we don't really know what'll happen. Potentially, it could be finished already. What's your views on it? Do you think he'll be able to get back? Because you've still got 21 games left to play.
I don't think we will.
I'm fairly confident we'll start back.
You think so?
The reason I think so is not so much because I think we're sort of in control of our own destiny. I think League One and League Two will start back. But I think the whole pyramid system will permission to play back at some point. I'd be absolutely astounded if they null and voided League One, League Two and the Lowland League. And I think once they're granted permission to come back and play, we'll come back and play. I'm fairly confident we'll come back. And people I speak to are fairly confident as well.
Fingers crossed, because it's been a bit depressing and no way to kind of start this year after the way the last one finished. Right, we'll leave the Darvel chat there. We've got our wee fan zone, so we've got a couple of questions for you. So the first one is for Fraser Reid. How important is the experience of Ian McShane, Darryl Meggett and even Jordan Kirkpatrick in your bid for promotion? You're obviously promoted into the Lowland League.
I don't even so much as the experience. I just think it's probably their qualities, to be fair. But also the other boys were brought in the summer as well. Ross Codwell, Jordan Allen, Ryan Thompson. All the boys have added real quality to the group that we'd already decided to keep in the summer. So it's just adding their quality to their experience. I think we've got real good experience through the full squad now. Very fortunate we've got that. But it's just more their qualities. I think what's important for us, Paul, is that we're very cautious when we bring people into the club and we recruit. We're very cautious at what age we bring them in it. And I think the good thing about Jordan Kilpatrick, Jordan Allen and Ian, and boys like that is they're about 27. They're all around about their sort of peak years and they've got another maybe 4 or 5 years at the top end of football left in them. So I think it's just more the qualities and the experience is it's a totally different level. So the experience doesn't really come into it, to be honest with you, because you're having to readjust, you're having to understand that. The dynamics of the level comparable with where they came from night and day. Do you know what I mean? These boys have played in the Championship and SPL and stuff like that. Coming to play a junior football, West of Scotland League, it's a totally different level altogether. It took them a bit of time to get adjusted to it this season, but their qualities are integral to what we're trying to achieve. But they're part of maybe the club early next 3 or 4 years. So if we manage to retain them, that is.
We say boys like the dressing room, Dan. The decent boys, I take it. We talk.
No, this dressing room, mate.
Well, you know what I mean, but
They're brand new, mate.
Dave Dawkins are doing the running of the ball and that.
No, they're good, mate. The boys are brilliant. I think everybody in the change room sort of knew each other. I think everybody in our teams played senior at one point,
Right.
and I think everybody knows everybody before they came in. But there's no denying they were very, very, very good signings. They're all brand new and all, which helps. Like Mick said before, I think there was a couple of times in the season, close season, though, Mick was offered a couple of boys, and I think he asked a couple of different people what they like, and when they fit in, it doesn't matter if they're good, but if you're a banger, you're not coming.
No, definitely, mate.
Fraser's got a wee PS. He says, is there any chance he can get free delivery for Coatbridge Black Rooster?
I think we start delivering next week or something. I'll sort it for them.
Yes, what about these water bottles, by the way? Love Island, mate. Eat your heart out. Look at these.
Cheers, mate.
What did I say? Is it starts all with the brand in it? That's it.
That's it. We're not big on branding or anything like that. We just like to just kind of do things small time, you know what I mean?
This will be getting branded about, mate. Honestly, wanted posters a lot, man.
Dan, we've got a question for you. Who has the biggest head at Darvel FC and why is it Jordan Allen? that comes for Mark Blakey.
Jordan's a good boy, man. Ronaldo, every shot he hits, I think he's Ronaldo. I'm not kidding on, right? This is the truth here. Mick will back me up. See if Jordan Allen had half a brain, he could play for Real Madrid. I'm not kidding. He's strong, he's fast, he's powerful, his left foot's like a wand. Just an absolute no writer.
Well, he'd be fair. I'm sure he'll put that as a quote down in his movie that if Jordan Allen had half a brain, he'd play for Real Madrid. It must run in Jordan's family because I only found this out the other day. Jordan's cousin's one of my good mates, and at parties we always get his cousin Spenny to snort vodka. So it must just be something that's in their family.
Do you know what it is, Stephen? I remember when we decided we wanted to bring in an actual left back, and we spoke to about 3 or 4, and I must have met Jordan. I think I had about 10 coffees with him to convince him to come. He was getting chased. I don't know how many clubs at the time. And you know that way when I've seen him play before, he's 6'2". I mean, athletic, powerful, strong, great left peg. And you think, you look at me, you're a modern day fullback. Every attribute you need, and you think to yourself, how have you not made it? And for some boys, it's luck. They've just not the rub of the green. There's other boys, probably like Darren, to be fair, maybe at times that immaturity or their attitudes let them down at certain situations, and that's affected their ability to move up the leagues. Then when I worked with Jordan, you realise that how he didn't make it, because any mistake he makes, he absolutely crucifies himself. I mean, it's the end of the world stuff. Do you know what I mean? And you just can't manage, and that's something we're working with him on to improve and stuff like that. Because if he can sort, but for us this year, he's been an absolute top signing. He's been fantastic for us. If he's on his game, he's unplayable. But it was why I thought to myself, how is he? And I think that's what Darren's alluding to, that he just sometimes can't manage the negative side of the game. But he's a lovely guy, and he's a top. In my opinion, the left backs that are in this country, and that he's better than Celtic's left back. They know that boy lacks it.
He is 100%. And Taylor.
Well, to be fair, Taylor's been brought up for under 13, so that's a bit harsh on him.
I don't want to get into it, man, but I would play Darren at centre half and Duffy, mate, but that's for another.
You ever seen me header a ball?
Eh?
You ever seen me header the ball?
You ever seen Shane Duffy header a ball?
Duffy?
No.
By the way, Paul, you look a bit like Shane Duffy there.
Aye. Big Duffy.
I don't even know what to say to that. I feel a bit upset, man. Right, on to, we'll talk about the good players. No, you darn right, just keep it quiet. That's when I actually talking about Jordan Allen. Jamie had sent me some of the stuff with the players. So Jordan, Aaron McKenzie and Aaron Black are all your kind of high performers in terms of like the fitness stuff and all that, with the GPS vest and that.
Aaron McKenzie is an absolute machine.
Aye.
Oh, mate, he's a machine.
He's a good big player, Aaron, isn't he?
Aye. He played everywhere for us last year.
Alan's been, again, probably wasn't one of the marquee signings that everybody thought we would bring in. I know he'd been at Talbot and Pork and stuff like that, and things didn't quite work out from. But I think the difference is there's a genuine belief in him. He knows he's in integral part of what we're trying to do, and he's been absolutely top draw for us. He's probably been one of the best players, one of the best signings I've made. I mean, he's been attitude's exceptional, works hard, applies himself, whatever you ask him today, does it to the letter.
He's so handsome, man.
Really injuries.
He's a good look.
And he's such a lovely guy as well.
See in the change room, see the new seating area? It's Maka, who's also a belter. Me, then Aaron.
You know
And if we win a good time, I'll be going on skiing a couple of times.
All you're missing is a handsome baldy guy sitting alongside his mate, like myself, mate, you know what I mean?
Huck sits across the other end of the change room.
See, just before you move on, PG, my one wee thing about Darvel that I think's class, right? And I don't think other people will comment on it, but I was talking to wee Bert about it, one of the coaches at Ashfield, wee Bert was blankered. What I think is if he touches Mick, see that when I seen that on social media, mate, honestly, this might be steak pies, mate. You dished out steak pies to the boys. I honestly think that's different class, mate, because
different gravy.
Mate, different gravy, mate. That's no gravy. For me, mate, I just think it's a wee small things that players pure love, and obviously me being a bit of a fat dick, I would have loved that. But no, in all fairness, mate, I think it's just the wee touches for the boys and that, and it just shows you how much you appreciate their effort and their commitment, mate.
It's not just that, but through this, to be fair to credit where credit's due, Mick, John, they've all stuck by the word. I think when we came in to start with, Mick ensured us all that he brought us here for a reason, and some people no rely on football wages, but it helps. There's no denying that. An extra cup, whatever it is, in your bank every week helps. But for the start of all this, we've been paid every single week. Not one time we've not been paid. And he said that to the start, and he's never took it back.
Well, fear, you need to start showing that. I bumped into you in the boozer, man. You wouldn't even buy me a pint, man. What's that all about?
You ran out and left a tablet after that.
Right, that's the end of the fan zone, because we don't really have many fans, so we didn't get many questions. So we'll move on to your time at Colville now, Mick. So the big question is, Dan, did you get paid more at Colville or Darvel?
See, that's another thing, right? We used to live up to it, but there was something, and I remember who was it played against Bannockburn or something, and the guy's like, mate, I took a fucking corner, and he's like, that's what £100 a week gets you. I was like, I wouldn't get my bed for £100 a week, mate. Little did the team I went for Darvel for 70. There was other things at Colville. Colville was the exact same way Darvel was. There's nothing changed apart from get a pie. That's it. The boys at Colville could easily. Chrissy Craig is by far the best football player I've seen with the body feet. We can't get the end. You had every player in that team. Hackey's the best player I've ever played with. That's just thing. You've got Big McD. Every Colville player could have went away. But you've got a changing room that everybody's like a brother to each other. You've got the best of gear. You've got sports scientists. You've got the best trackies. I know it sounds daft, but it's the wee things that I look for, doesn't it? You've got a good pub to go to after the game. You get fucking everything's the best. You've got the best players, the best gaffer, the best. Everything was the best. That was how Colville was good, because there was a genuine belief that we were never going to get beat, and even if we were getting beat, we would come back. I think in my time at Colville, we won four trebles, Mick. Is that right?
No, there's no.
4 trebles in a row, is that right? No,
Is it no?
3 trebles?
I've got, based off of what I've got, I could be wrong, right? I've got he's winning the Scottish 3 times. Also, the Scottish 3 times.
It's 4 trebles. It's definitely 4 trebles. Next one at Colville, 100%.
You've got the Scottish 3 times, the Foster's Premier 4, the West ones, the M&M Trophy once, and the Bunbury Cup once.
And the Cinema Cup or something like that, Mick, didn't we?
Aye, but that's a turn up and get it. Right, so on the to be fair, actually with the pay, right? Because see with Colville, you're never going to be able to convince that many people. The only thing I would say is I worked with Andy McGowan that you got for Bannockburn, and Big Andy. Big Andy always said to me,
"What do you think about it, Mick? Let's talk about it now, mate."
Well, he always said to me before he said, he always said to me that we never got paid. He always was a bit of a liar. But what were you going to say, Mick?
Do you know something about it? Listen, I think football's a very small world. So, and I say this about people when they talk about paying ridiculous sums of money just now. Like, we've spoke to players in the summer, and last year we didn't get, for whatever circumstances, whether it was environment, they didn't want to come, or we weren't paying them enough money. So I think when I talk openly and publicly about money, then I would be setting myself up for a fall if there was people out there who could contradict me. And when we were at Colville, there was probably 5 or 6 players at my time that I tried to sign me up for our biggest competitors at that time, St Pat's or a Bannockburn and a Hairstains, and we didn't get them for one reason or another. And I'm sure if I'd sat on a table and offered the boys money, they'd have happily flung us under a bus. Because we were the best team in the country at that point. They decided not to come. There's games where the players have followed the players that I had at Cove and all that stuff. Not one person could ever say that I offered them money to play football at Colville Park or ordered a pie of them. And see them, they could stand up and say that, I would chuck football to do. So it was never the case.
Just for anybody listening to this,
never the case. Ever.
For anybody listening to this on the podcast, Darren just stood up there and tried to call Mick a liar. But I spoke to, because obviously it's difficult to get too much about your time as a player in terms of like on the internet and that, because amateurs it's not really great getting in. I spoke to my good mate Alan Russell today. I think you played with wee Alan at the district team. I maybe played against him a few times. But wee Alan was telling us that you were quite a tidy sweeper. And he also told me that you lost 4 Scottish Cup finals in a row as a player.
Mick, you get any pictures of you playing it? I was trying to dig out some pictures of you playing. What's that you've got done?
Pat Nevin.
You're Pat Nevin there.
Look at him. Look at that. For God's sake, Mick, you look fucking terrible there.
I was just coming after the gear at that point.
You need a fucking black rooster in you.
No, Mick, on you go. But you're kind of, because obviously it was a drum. I went and had a wee look online. So it was the drum. You lost the first one, Drum United, and then you've lost 3 in a row with Colville, was it?
I lost 2 with Drum and 2 with Colville. I lost 3 in one penalties.
Fuck's sake.
So I just one. I don't know. My 12-year of playing amateur. My 12-year of playing amateur football. I think we won that Premier Division 9 times or something like that. We won the West. I don't know how many times we won the West. 5 or 6 times. As a player, won every other cup. God knows how many times. Just couldn't win Scottish Cups.
See, in
players
terms of
we lost 3 in penalties.
See, in terms of when you're going into your management, right? Obviously you've won 3 Scottish Cups. The closest, my spell, I mean, I don't know if you know much about when I was managing at Bridgewater. You had a bad year that year and we got to the semis. And see, for me, the Scottish Amateur Cup, not in terms of quality, but in terms of the sheer volume of teams and rounds you have to get through, it must be one of the hardest trophies that you can win in Scottish football, because, I mean, I think we played 10 games to get to the semis because we had a couple of replays and stuff, and it's ridiculous the amount of fucking games you have to go through to try and get to that stage. But going for like being a player into manager, what Scottish meant the most to you? Because obviously you knew you were leaving when you won your last. Winning the first one or winning the third one? Because obviously you could have been looking at, was it just sheer relief on winning the first one after being so close as a player?
I think when you move from management to playing, I think it's a different kind of feeling altogether, to be honest with you. I think the first one was just sheer relief, I think. And to be honest with you, not really so much for me, to be honest with you. It was more so for the club, because I'd lost to at Colville Park. Jerry, who was a manager when I went to play, lost one before that as well. And they were always regarded at that time as being one of the top clubs in the country, even when I played against them. And they just couldn't win a Scottish Cup. And it was more relief for Jerry and Joe and Andy, who were the guys who ran the club and had to trust him to become the manager, and also for the players, because I think they fully deserve to do it. So, because there are 10 occasions Scottish Cups, it doesn't matter. Well, people degrade it, no, because it's no the juniors or it's no senior or whatever it may be. But the reality is, when you're an amateur football player, it's a massive thing. You're playing at Hampden. There's a massive build up to it. As you say, there's well over 1,000 clubs starting it. Now, to have that level of consistency to get through 10, 11 rounds, it's a massive challenge to do that and be at it every single time you're playing. So it was more a sense of relief, to be honest with you. And also the joys era finally winning one when you've been through the back end of 4 and as a player and no managed to get out of the line.
I can only imagine how.
Mick, did you get injured, Mick? Is that how your playing career stopped short, was it?
I think I've got an injury called osteitis pubis, so I had to stop playing when I was about 33 or something like that. Fuck knows how I got that because I wasn't known for running about a lot. But I managed to.
Mick, Dan will tell you.
That's how I ran like fuck.
So I ended up got to about 32, 33 and had to stop playing, to be fair. But it was as I say, it's a massive. When you've been involved in amateur football for so long as well, and as I say, you've lost so many as a player. It's a massive thing to finally get on the line.
See for me, sorry PG. For me, just I'm going to get the golden straw here, right? But this is my opinion on it. See for the success that you and Darren and the likes of the boys you had at Colville and you've took them on to, you've took boys into here. I think it's unbelievable, right? I've been involved in management. I was running an amateur team on a Saturday morning, Ockenell Star. We had an amazing team, big group of pals, won the leagues and that, but never quite went as far in the Scottish and all that. And I've been part of teams, good teams and all, we've never went that far in the Scottish. So go and win the Scottish that consistently, and go and win cups that consistently, and then go into obviously the next level up and go and win a league. Obviously, you've still, because of COVID, you've still got other things, but I think the success that you as a gaffer and Darren's achieved as a player is nothing short of outstanding. Do you know what I mean? And it should never be taken for granted, in my opinion, because we've all played with dynamite players and how many good players and they've won nothing. Do you know what I mean?
Mate. See, these people get this thing and all about like wanting to, but really it gets me is some boys want to stay senior for their full career to say, I played senior. And I know I get it, fair enough, they're playing the leagues, right? They look back and they'll be like, I remember this time we played against fucking Annan on a Thursday night and won fuck all. It's not about the trophies, it's about who you share the changing room with. I think it makes it more better. But see, when you've got that success with a good changing room, you don't ever want to leave it. There's been opportunities. But when I played with Colville, I left, signed for Clyde and ended up going back to Colville. One thing didn't work out, but it was, you miss it. Because like you say, there's nothing in common with some of the other boys. It's literally just a football team. Not I mean you're playing senior, it's just football team. You then get your own lives. Don't really keep in contact with someone outside. Things have changed now, also group chats and all that, but it's definitely about the success is brilliant. It could be fucking 5 aside. See if you win trophies with your pals, you're not getting a fuck, you know?
See, to be honest, I think you make a good point, Dan. I was one of the ones where I went into juniors at 18 and I went to Rob Roy and we won the league. I think we won a cup final my first season. And I kind of had a decent wee spell for the first couple of years. And then through injuries and no being as good as maybe I thought I was, I started dropping down levels. And I thought, no, I'm not going amateur, I'm staying junior. I think there's something to be said for it. Like, I got quite fortunate. I had a wee spell at the Port for 3 years where I best I've enjoyed my football. I loved it.
Mm-hmm.
But when I was 27, I ended up going and playing with Bridgewater because it was all boys Ferskin, and that's where I'm from. Mm-hmm. And I won a league title, and it was just like a different kind of level of togetherness that I hadn't experienced in a long time. And I kind of, when I became manager there, I started trying to sell that to players, like, because I was trying to get boys for the bottom level at the juniors to come because I thought that we were run better in terms of like the way you said it at Colville. We had a great committee where we had fucking all the boys had 2 training gears, you had your trackies, you had bags. The boys even daft stuff like you had the different coloured kind of rain jackets for warm-ups and all that, depending on the slip you're wearing. And trying to sell that to certain boys who think, no, I'd rather stay, without disrespect, playing with new mains who are never really going to win anything unless they kind of get a wee injection in. I think it's a good point you make. But Mick, this is something I asked Moff, and it'll be one of the ones where I'll probably ask every manager I have on. See your transition from playing to management. Because I said it to Moff where I did a lot of self-reflection when I did it and thought I hadn't been the best player to play for managers and that because my attitude was shite and I didn't get enough. Do you look back for now being a manager to when you're playing and think, I could have done this better, I could have done that better?
As a player?
Just in terms of like what you thought about if you look back on how you were as a player and how you were maybe good at certain things or not so good at certain things?
No, I think anybody who sort of managed me would probably say I was pretty easy to manage. I think I had a good attitude. I worked hard. Football was a massive part of my life. I took it seriously. I applied myself to it properly. Alongside another group of players, we had a lot of success in a sustained period of time. But no, I wouldn't. Listen, I was fairly confident when I played amateur football. I could have stepped in and played junior football. I don't think I was never. Now, I had opportunities to do that countless times and made the decision not to at a good level at that level. But for me, football was always a release away from my personal life. It was something I wanted to ensure I enjoyed. And again, I played with a group of people who were players who are pals of mine, who I've still got strong relationships with. So no, I think I don't look back and think I was ever difficult to manage or anything like that. I think I was probably particularly easy. I was probably a good communicator. I was always somebody who actually led and wanted to be at the front things to make sure that boys were applying themselves and were working hard and all that stuff. So no, but I've enjoyed. I don't know about Moff's opinion. I've enjoyed the transition. I probably feel more comfortable doing this than I did playing football, to be honest with you. Funny enough, and maybe it's because my playing career's about 10 years away now. But I feel as if I enjoy this more.
It's something you fancy doing?
I would like to eventually, but I don't know, man. Mick's a totally different person for me. Like, he's a lot calmer in situations and stuff. I would like to, eventually, because I would like to have an impact on somebody younger's career or make it the same way Mick has, like create this family thing all the time and win things. But I think I would need to be an assistant for a good number of years first. So hopefully, when I retire, Mick's still kicking a bit and I can learn off him.
See, to be fair, I think that's a good way to go. Is like getting in and doing a bit of coaching and then possibly moving to being an assistant. It's something that when we spoke to Moff, he mentioned, and I thought it was quite a good transition for him. Where, like you're saying, you learn your craft and your trade almost doing that, working your way through instead of just going straight into management.
I think Mick's done that with Jerry, hasn't you, Mick? And Jerry's still about the now, like anything that Mick needs or he's no sure on. Jerry's still about Darvel. It's good. That's another thing that's created. Everybody who's been with Mick is sort of still there, like he says. It's good like that. Not what I mean. We get Rab Steddon, who's an older he done all. Kev McDonald, who's played at the best level. It's a good mix for the gaffer and the people he's got. Xander, obviously a goalie coach. It's good. It is good. I think, and everybody, even though Mick's a gaffer, I think there'll be some things he still maybe goes out of Jerry, which I think I stay here, or Rab gives him his opinion, or Kev will go out, well, no, he'll no directly say I've played at the fucking best level here, but he knows different things about we know, obviously, do you know what I mean? So it's quite good. I think it's making the gaffer a better manager and all.
I think it helps if you're able to take that kind of advice for people in that, because not everybody knows. One person doesn't know everything. You know what I mean? You need that's why you have your team about you. But Darren, back onto Colville, you said kind of like Mick talked about kind of St Pat's and you had Hairstains. For me, when I came into amateurs, because I didn't know a massive amount of it was yourselves and Southside. Did you have a kind of anybody to a particular rivalry with or anything like that, or was it just Southside? Because
they made no hang about they were fine people and stuff, and I don't think they would deny that now. But like I say, they'll come on and they'll come on. Sorry, back then they wanted to be as good as us. They weren't. That's the truth. They never would have been, but they were doing everything in their power to become. So then they became, well, we got to take a chip off the considerers, know what I mean? And I think they beat us one time, to be fair, and that was like you said earlier on. Seeing you're playing for the Scottish Cup, you're playing for the West, you're playing for the league, you're playing for another, you're playing 4 games a week sometimes, and it's hard, amateur. You're going to fucking Kilsyth for a 6:30 kick-off. Boys are working to 5 o'clock. You know what I mean? It's hard. That took its toll, but I would say them, but Bannockburn, wasn't it, Mick? And then towards the end, it was definitely St Pat's. It was definitely St Pat's. There's no denying that. We had, the day we won the league was brilliant, Mick, wasn't it? We won the league after we'd played Bannockburn an early kick-off. St Pat's had to drop points, and we won the league, and we were all sitting in the Bannockburn pub, 20s or something in the corner, and they gave us bottles of champagne. We had this big street party. It was brilliant, man.
That's good at Bannockburn today. See, you say on St Pat's, my limited knowledge of amateur football, because I was only involved for 3 years, but see, for me, St Pat's we played them in the quarters of the Scottish, and we never played Jews, but they were the best team at that level that we played. I thought they were excellent, like better than a lot of junior teams at the lower levels that we played against. But I think with them, you're saying that doesn't surprise me that they lost it in the last day, because we should never have put them out. I mean, they were by far a better team than us. But I think that because they blew a league title the year after against you as well, right? Was that the last one you won?
Aye.
They just, to me, I think that was their weakness. They had a great team, but they didn't have the kind of mental toughness to go and win trophies consistently.
People underestimate how hard it is to get out that line, by the way, don't they?
Once you do it once, but mate, you know how it's easy.
Aye, it's the hardest thing to do. You know what I mean?
No, it's quite interesting, particularly with the South Side thing, because you saw that they had their spell where they'd all that money, and like you said, they never really had that boys were getting paid, but it went tits up for them, and then they couldn't see it through. Basically, as soon as a couple of boys started leaving, it fell apart for them.
But that's the thing. But you've got players that are there for the wrong reasons. You've got players there because they're getting paid, and they're wanting a wage. If somebody was to say to me, if I was to be Colville and somebody was to go, I can play amateur, mate. You've got, like you say, Bridgewater or something, or else you got Southside there £100 a week. I said, I'll see you on Monday at training then. You know what I mean? But when you've got people there all day buying into the one thing, you're there for the right reasons, innit? And it means more.
Definitely makes a difference. We're going to be finishing up soon, but Mick, you still playing the now? Is it Easter Craig's 35s you're playing with when they're back?
Aye, 35s. I will go back now. I don't know, because we've had such a sustained break. But 35s, odd time if there's a body short, I'll try and get on. I can still run.
Have you seen Mick play football, by the way?
I haven't.
He's fucking very, very, very good.
Max says he's a good player, mate.
Yeah, very good. But he's too calm for me. I think I'd have look my hairline now, right? I would have no hair, like my complete no hair. I take fucking Cruyff turns in the 6-yard box and all that.
See if you're not to beg somebody.
I don't want to give you the fear, Darren, mate, but that's how my hairline started, mate. Look at that thing, mate. It's fucking... Do you know what I've took this, mate, because people were slagging me because they shine on my head, mate. So just in case it was getting a bit too much for people, mate, I'll do the rest of the show in this, mate. Right?
Oh, you look like Blondie.
Fucking mate, I look like a big belter. I maybe get a seat in the dressing room next to Dan now.
Right.
Right, well, I think we'll finish it on that. Mick, Darren, I honestly really appreciate you taking your time to speak to us. It's been excellent, and hopefully, because my attitude has changed after watching you on something else, Mick, on the money stuff, where you seem sincere enough that I bought it. So I'd imagine more people, if they listen to this, you maybe not get quite as much stick, but saying that, the internet's not really out in Ayrshire yet, so they'll probably not be able to see this, so you'll probably still get stick down there. But honestly, guys, really, really appreciate you taking the time to speak to us. And
see, for me, lads, the two of you are top guys, man, and you are doing good stuff. Just keep it going, and appreciate your time in it as well, man. It's been absolutely first class.
Thank you.
Thanks a lot, lads. Hopefully we'll have you on when we're hopefully getting into the studio when all this stops, so we'll get you in that.
Yeah, last thing is worth celebrating. This is probably the only podcast platform that can go that we've done, mate. So it's another wee one ticked off for you, Mick.
Easy for you.
Brilliant, lads. Thanks a lot. Cheers.
Right, cheers,
Take
boys.
care, lads. Thank you.
Thanks, lads.
Bye.